So the January 4th recap in the NBA and obviously fantasy basketball here. So we'll start with the Knicks and Hawks box score, and what a game this one was. The New York Knicks winning a shocker here, 113-108, and the Knicks, they were down in the third quarter, 15 points, but they quickly turned it around and pulled this one out, followed by Julius Randle, Emmanuel quickly in this one. But we'll go to the box score, and for the Knicks, Julius Randle, like I just mentioned, another great game for him, 28 points, 17 rebounds, and 9 assists. So Randle 1 assist shy of a triple-double, and what a season it's been for him so far. In this Knick offense, and for fantasy owners, he's putting up huge numbers right now, is Randle. He's almost got 2 or 3 triple-doubles on the season. He's got 1, but in this game, he give you everything. 11 and 19 from the field, 6 for 8 from the field, and right now, this guy, he's a top 10 player in fantasy basketball. I don't know if he'll sustain this all season, but right now, you got to be happy if you got Randle in your fantasy draft, and you probably spent the 6th or 7th round pick on him, and he's putting up numbers. Reggie Bullock again here. He didn't do much. He don't have fantasy value. He's just a 3-and-D guy for this Knick team, but 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and he's not even on deep league radars as well as Reggie Bullock, so don't pay attention to him. Alfred Payton, decent game in this one, but again, bad field goal percentage. 14 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists in 28 minutes of work. Emmanuel quickly, he took over in the third and fourth quarter, and Payton, he just didn't come back the rest of the way in this one, and he quickly could be the starter, no pun intended, sooner than later is the young rookie here. So Payton, you hold on to him now. It was another decent stat line except the field goal percentage, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets demoted here in the next few weeks. RJ Barrett, another good game for him. He's coming into his own right now. 43 minutes of play, 26 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 10 and 19 shooting. And he did hit 1 3 out of 5 attempts. And Barrett, we know he's a good player. He would have been the first pick in the draft in 2019 if Zion Williamson didn't emerge out of nowhere. But Barrett, the Knicks got him at 3. He's going to get every opportunity here to play major minutes and have a role as a top guy on this Knicks team. And him and Julius Randle showed it yesterday. And right now, Barrett, he was going low in fantasy drafts, 9th, 10th round. And so far, he's been pretty solid, except that field goal percentage. Mitch Robinson, mediocre game for him. 28 minutes of play, 8.7 boards, 4 for 7 from the field, and he got in some foul trouble. And Mitch Robinson, he was a center I said to sell this week here in week 3, so check that video out if you haven't. And Mitch Robinson, though, he's a good player as well, but foul trouble and the lack of total stats is the problem with him in fantasy, even though he was a player drafted 5th to 6th round in fantasy leagues. Austin Rivers, he was the 6th man off the bench in this one, and he had another decent game here. 33 minutes, 8 points, 2 boards, and an assist, 2 for 3 from 3, and 3 for 6 from the field. And Rivers this season, I've noticed his defense has improved. He's playing harder, but right now he just don't have fantasy value. I know he's scoring the basketball, but in this one only 8 points, even though he hit a huge 3 late in the fourth quarter to keep the Knicks atop. So Rivers, he's a player to keep an eye on. But I wouldn't add him right now. Kevin Knox, he didn't do much again in this one, and he's not really on the fantasy radar. 6 points, 2 assists, 2 for 3 from 3, and on field goal total. So Knox, he don't have fantasy value right now. He's inconsistent. I know he's playing 15, 20 minutes, but I wouldn't trust him or get him right now in fantasy. But Emmanuel quickly, he's a guy to keep an eye on. And he came back a couple games ago, and in this one he had a good game. 16 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist, 4 for 7 from the field. 100% from the line at 6 for 6 and 2 for 3 from 3. So quickly, like I said earlier, he could take over for Alfred Payton soon at that starting point guard position. And I wouldn't be surprised. The Knicks took him in the first round this year. He's got the intangibles. He plays defense. He could hit the 3-pointer. And he could draw the fouls and hit his foul shots. So quickly, definitely keep an eye out on him. Now to the Hawks side of things. John Collins, another pretty good game here. 18 points, 8 rebounds, 8 of 15 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. And Collins, he's putting up the numbers you expected, where you drafted Collins here in the second or third round of your fantasy drafts. this season. So he's a good player. He's putting up the numbers. And that's what you want to do here for Collins owners. Deandre Hunter, he's been the pickup so far this season probably. 23 points again, 8 rebounds and an assist, 9 of 15 shooting, 2 for 3 from the line. And he went 3 for 6 from 3. So Deandre Hunter, he's getting all the minutes. He's playing a major role. He's on a good team right now. Is Hunter. And like I said, Gallinari's going to be out 2 or 3 weeks, and he's getting every opportunity, and he's taking advantage of it. So Hunter, he's a good player, and he's been a waiver wire pickup so far. Trey Young, another big game for him, 31 points, 14 assists. The only downside here, 9 for 22 from the field and 1 for 6 at three-point land. But Young, he's a stud. He was a first, second-round pick in fantasy drafts. And this season, he's continuing to put up the numbers and making plays. Cam Reddish, mediocre game once again here in the third game in a row. 10 points, 4 boards, and an assist. 4 for 11 from the field and 2 threes. Cam Reddish, he missed a big dunk down the stretch here in this one. Is Reddish, but Reddish, he still has fantasy value. He's still playing major minutes for this Hawk team, and he's a guy I would just keep around here on my team because I think he could contribute and still put up numbers. Clint Capela, another good game here, 12 points, 12 rebounds, and he's rounding into shape now. And Capela, the only problem with him's injuries. Besides that, he's a double-double center. He puts up the numbers. He's a good player wherever he goes. He fit well with the Rockets. He fits well here with Atlanta. And he got a big contract a couple seasons for a reason because he puts up numbers and he can make plays as Capela. And his minutes have been going up as the games have been going on here. Kevin Huerter, he don't really have fantasy value, but in this 131 minutes he did play. 9 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 for 12 from the field. Bogdanovic, I don't know what's going on with him, and now he's got the ankle injury as well. He played 18 minutes in this one, and he had a bad stat line, 3 points, 2 boards, 3 assists. So he's a guy I'm a little worried about. Deandre Hunter totally took over now for him and Gallinari, who's out with the injury like I mentioned. And Bogdanovic, hopefully the ankle injury ain't serious. But right now, if I'm rostering Bogdanovic like I am in a league, I'm going to wait and see what happens. If he has a few more poor performances, he's a guy I'm probably going to drop in week 4. But right now, I would hold on to him and hope he turns it around. And Solomon Hill and Brandon Goodwin, no fantasy value. And like I said, Gallinari and Rajon Rondo didn't play in this one. Gallinari out 2 to 3 weeks. And for Rondo right now, coach's decision, so we'll see what happens with Rondo, but he don't really have value in my opinion anyway. Now the 76ers and the Hornets, and the Sixers, they're sending a message to the Eastern Conference so far here with a 118-101 victory and a blowout victory versus the Hornets. They're 6-1, the best in the East right now under Doc Rivers, and they're just playing good as a unit. But we'll start off with the Hornets box score. P.J. Washington, pretty good game here. 26 minutes of play, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 of 10 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3 for Washington. So Washington, he was a breakout player last season, and so far this year it's been mixed results for him. But he's a player you keep on your roster. He's going to start. He's going to play 25, 30 minutes a game, and he'll have good games and he'll have bad games. And this was a pretty decent stat line here. Gordon Hayward, another decent game. 18 points, 8 boards, 2 assists, 50% from the field. Then he added 2 threes. Hayward, he was a player I said to sell high this week in fantasy basketball because I don't know if he's going to stay healthy. I know he's been solid this year, but Hayward, he's just got a track record that I don't trust right now for him. I got to see more from him. I know the numbers are pretty similar to last season. He got the huge contract with Charlotte, but right now I would try to sell him high and see what I could get for him. If I'm not going to get anything great, then you hold on to him, but if not, you trade him. But right now he's playing the minutes and he's obviously one of the main men over there. Devontae Graham, it was good to see him bounce back in this one with 15 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist, 5 of 13 from the field, and he went 5 for 11 from 3. So Graham, last season was a breakout year for him. He was a big 3-point shooter and scorer, and it was good to see him in this game in limited minutes, I would say, for a starter with only 24 to get 15 points. And Graham, he knows playing time's on the line here with Lonzo Ball, Bridges, and Rozier as guards as well. But Graham, I would hold on to him. I would try to trade for him as well if the Graham owner is disgruntled and trying to get rid of him because his value's low right now. And I think he's going to break out in the next few weeks. Terry Rozier, after a 35-point game the other night, and this one he comes back to earth with a 12-point game, 3 boards, 4 assists, 2 for 5 from 3. And Rozier, he was a player I said to sell high as well this week. I don't think that 42 and 35-point game he's had this season are going to happen often this year. Rozier, he's a streaky shooter. When he gets hot from 3, that's when he really pours on the points and helps fantasy teams. But there's going to be a lot of nights, in my opinion, like this one, where he has a mediocre stat line. Bismack Biyombo, I recommended him as a center waiver wire ad this week. And this game, it just didn't happen for him. 4 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 for 7 from the field. So Bismack, he's a guy that could average close to a double-double. Cody Zeller, he's out with a broken hand, so we don't know how long he's going to be out for. And I would ride the wave with Biyombo. If he'd been dropped in your league after this bad performance, I would try to get him if I have a player that's struggling and not worth the roster spot. So Biyombo, I think he'll be fine. He'll help you in rebounds, block shots, and he's been adding 3 or 4 assists a game as well, which is a plus. LaMelo Ball, the prized rookie here, and draft pick at 3rd pick this season for the Charlotte Hornets. He had a pretty good line here. 12 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. The only downfall is this guy's field goal percentage. Overseas, he wasn't a great shooter, and that's something he's got to work on. We saw him a couple times this year have good field goal percentage, but that's the only category and turnovers where he might hurt you. Everything else, Lonzo, LaMelo Ball, he gives you, and I think he'll be good this season, and he'll probably win Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. Miles Bridges, mediocre game again for him. 23 minutes of work, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 3 or 6 from the field, and he added 1 3. So Miles Bridges, he was great last season, but this year his minutes have gone down now with the arrival of Ball and Rozier being healthy, and Gordon Hayward, obviously. But Bridges, I still think I would hold on to him another week or 2, and if he don't pan out, then you drop him or try to trade him as an add-on in a package. But right now, Bridges, you just wait and see. Martin, McDaniels, they don't have value, even though they played 17 and 16 minutes. And Malik Monk, the high draft pick from a few seasons ago, he finally played in this one 9 minutes, but that's because it was a blowout, and he definitely has no value. Now to the 76ers box score. Tobias Harris, he continues to be a good scorer this season. 22 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, and a good field goal here. 10 for 16, and he added 2 threes. And this is what Tobias does. He's going to get 18, 20 points a game, 6 or 7 rebounds, and he'll add a 3.5 to 2 a game. Just some nights his field goal is going to be bad, but he's not going to give you those other intangible stats. But he's still a solid fantasy basketball player, and I like Tobias. He's going to help you, like I said, in scoring, rebounds, and he'll add a 3.5 to 2 a game. Danny Green, 22 minutes in this one. Decent stat line, 13 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 5 for 10 from the field, and 3 for 8 from 3. But Danny Green, he don't have fantasy value at this time. He's a player that's better in real life than fantasy because he's going to have games where he's not going to do anything at all, but he would play good defense, and that wouldn't show up in the box score. But he was a good get for Philly here in the offseason. He's got championship under his belt. He's got the playoff experience, obviously, and this is what maybe Philly needed. A couple more of these guys like that. Danny Green, Ben Simmons, underwhelming line here. Only 12 points, 10 boards, 6 assists, 6 of 13 from the field. So far, Ben Simmons, he hasn't had that huge game, but he'll give you a lot of categories, and only 3-pointers and free throw percentage will be his downfall. But I want to see him score more is Ben Simmons. He's only scoring about 14 points a game right now. So hopefully that goes up for Simmons in the next few weeks and games here. Because Simmons, he's a great talent. He's a great ball player, but he's got to get a 3-point shot, and he's got to get his scoring up here to have amazing fantasy value the rest of the season is Ben Simmons. Now, on to Seth Curry. Curry, he was a guard I said to buy this week, and Curry, a mediocre game here for him. 11 points in 25 minutes of play. 4 for 7 from the field, and he added 2 threes. And Curry, this guy, he's going to have some big nights. Obviously, he's not his brother Stephen Curry, but Seth Curry here, he's going to be good. He's going to hit threes. He fits this system with his father-in-law Doc Rivers and the Sixers a lot here, with players like Embiid, Simmons, and Harris, him being the 4th or 5th option, and he'll be fine here. Just a little bit of a down game, but you know what you're going to get for him: scoring, threes, and he'll be decent in the assist and free throw category and field goals. Joel Embiid, quiet night here, but this game got out of hand early. 14 points, 11 boards, 4 assists. He had a good double-double. The only down thing here, 40% from the field, but Embiid's a stud. The only thing with him's health, and if he stays healthy, he'll be a top 25 to 30 player in fantasy this season. Shake Milton, 6-man off the bench here for the Sixers. He had an okay game, 10 points, 2 boards, 6 assists. Once again, he was recommended as a pickup this week on fantasy waiver wires at the guard position. And Milton, he's getting the opportunities. He's playing major minutes for a guy off the bench. Like I said, he's the 6-man here. And he's going to score the basketball and help you in assists. In this game, just his field goal was down, but he'll bounce back. Maxey, the rookie they took this season in the first round, 11 points, 2 boards, 2 assists. Right now, he don't have fantasy value, but he's a guy to keep an eye out on, especially if someone goes down like a Ben Simmons or a Milton for an extended period of time. So Maxey, just keep him on your watch list and pay attention to what he's doing. Dwight Howard, he had a big game here, but he's not consistent enough. This game, it was just a blowout, so the bench played more, but Howard, a good game, 9 points, 13 rebounds, and an assist, 4 for 6 shooting, but he has no value. And Thibault, he's a good player. They're high on him, but he's not going to play minutes over Danny Green, Harris, or Simmons, obviously. So he played 16 minutes, 4 points, 2 boards, 4 assists, but he's another player like Shake Milton and Maxey to keep an eye on. If he breaks out, then you add him if there's an injury or something. But Thibault, he's better left off on the wire right now, unless you're in deep leagues or dynasty or keeper league. So that's the Hornet and Philly box. So the third game of the night was the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Orlando Magic. And the Magic win this one, 103-83. 20-point victory. The Magic back on track in this one, and they improved to 5-2 here, and second in the East. And the Cavs still good record, 4-3 for this young Cav team. But now they've lost 3 out of 4. And now to the box score for the Cavs: Larry Nance, 4 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 for 6 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. So Nance, I've been saying this, he's going to get major minutes. And once again, he did here, but he's a player I said to sell high. Nance, right now, I don't think he's playing that well, even though he's getting the major minutes. And Kevin Love's out for a while with the right calf strain. But still, Nance, I would trade him if you package him with someone else, or a 1-for-1 deal for a guy who's struggling and you're waiting to break out. Because in my opinion, Nance, he's just too consistent for fantasy basketball, and you want more consistency out of him. Damian Dotson, he gets a surprise start here because Kevin Porter's out and Darius Garland with the right shoulder strain. And Damian Dotson, we've seen throughout his career, have some breakout games when he was on the Knicks. And in this one, 16 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 6 for 10 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3. Dotson at this time, he has no fantasy value. But if Garland and Porter are out a while, then I would say he has value. So he's a guy to keep an eye on and see what he could do. But right now, I'm not going to the wire and get him. Colin Sexton, another good game from the scoring end of things. 24 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. 10 of 19 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. So Colin Sexton, he's playing really well right now for this team, and he's getting the job done. And Sexton, he was a player I said to sell high last week, but right now, with the injuries and his usage, he's a player you should keep on your roster and ride out until the end, because Sexton, this is his 3rd year in the league, and this might be the year where he takes a big leap here to become a great player in the NBA. Dante Exum, he left the game early in this one. He don't even play a minute, and he got hurt, and he left. He didn't have fantasy value anyway. Andre Drummond, another double-double. 10 points, 14 boards, 4 assists, and 32 minutes of work. And these are the type of games Drummond's going to have, a small double-double type of game. He'll get a block and a half to 2 a game. Just the only problem in this one was his field goal percentage, 5 for 15 from the field. But Drummond, you drafted him probably in the 3rd, 4th round of your fantasy drafts, and he's coming up as one of the better centers right now in basketball. C.D. Osman, he had a breakout game in this one. 38 minutes of work, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 for 8 from 3 as well. But Osman, I'm saying this is just a fluky type of game. We've seen it a lot with Osman, where he has a big game, people go to the waiver wire and pick him up, and then he has a couple dud performances and you drop him. And in this game, he got 38 minutes because Exum left right away. Porter was out, and obviously Love out in Garland. So Osman, he's a player I'm not going to pay attention to or be on radars. And JaVale McGee, I said he was a center to pick up, but in this one, he didn't pick up anything good. 13 minutes, 2 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist, 1 for 7 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3. And these other guys, they don't have fantasy value, especially when the Cavs get healthier. Now to the Magic side of things. Aaron Gordon, this is the type of game I waited for from him. And he's a forward I said to try to buy low this week, but it could be too late after this performance. 24 points, 11 rebounds, and assist, 9 of 17 from the field, and he added 6 threes. And Gordon, like I've been saying, if he could add a jump shot and a 3-point shot, he's going to be a real good player for the Magic team and fantasy owners. So if the Gordon manager is still not happy with him, I would try to go out there and get him. Dwayne Bacon, 25 minutes, 8 points, 2 boards and assist. He don't have fantasy value. He's just a player here that could do some defense and intangibles, but he's not going to help in fantasy or really fill up the stat sheet. Markelle Fultz, another struggling game from him, but he did add a little bit of everything. But only 6 points in this one, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 of 9 shooting. So Fultz, the scoring's got to get better for him. He's got to just get more opportunities as well. 9 field goal attempts isn't that much, but obviously the big guys on this roster are Vukovic, Aaron Gordon, and Terence Ross as your scorers. But Fultz, hopefully he could step it up. The last few games, he's been struggling shooting the basketball. Michael Carter-Williams, no impact for fantasy, but he played 17 minutes, 1 rebound, 3 assists. Vukovic, another game, another good stat line for him. 23 minutes, 8 boards, 2 assists, 9 of 16 from the field with 2 threes. So Vuk, he was a 2nd, 3rd rounder in most drafts, and he's living up to it, and he's a solid ball player. And each and every year, it seems like he gets better. Terence Ross, 6-man here for this ball club. 15 points, 2 boards, and assists, 2 threes. So Ross, he's going to be a scorer. He's going to come off that bench. He'll hit threes, and he definitely has fantasy value. And he's worth the fantasy spot with his scoring abilities. And some games, he's decent with assists, too. Kellen Birch, good game, a 12 and 12. So maybe he's a player I would keep an eye on here is Birch. He's getting 20, 25 minutes a game. He's put up some decent stat lines this season, and he had a solid double-double here. Cole Anthony, he's on and off the radar this year, but he had 21 minutes played, 9 points, 5 boards, 4 assists for the point guard rookie of the Magic, and he added a 3. And Anthony, there's got to be an injury, or they just let him take over for Carter-Williams in the starting lineup for him to have monster fantasy value. But also in this game, Evan Fournier was out with back spasms. Once he comes back, things are going to be different here for this Magic team. But right now, Cole Anthony, keep an eye on him because he could break out anytime soon. And like I said, it takes one injury to get him in that starting lineup or playing 30-plus minutes a game. And the rest of the Magic, they're not going to have value. Gary Clark, Mo Bamba, or Josh Bone here for this team. Now, on to the Raptors and the Boston Celtics. And the Celtics win a good one here. Jason Tatum leads the way with 40 points to go 126-114. And the Raptors, they lost a few guys now over the last few seasons. And now they fall to 1-4. I know it's early in the season, but this team, they just don't play defense. And the Celtics took advantage of it in this one. And we'll start with Jason Tatum. He had a huge game. 40 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 11 of 19 from the field, a perfect 13 for 13 from the line, and 5 for 8 from 3. So Tatum, you took him in the first, second round, and this guy's a stud, and he's going to get better as the years go on, and he's one of the better players already in the NBA, and he's only 23 years old, so another big game here for him. Tristan Thompson, he got the start again at powered forward, and he had no points but 7 boards. Thompson, he's on the fringe of being fantasy owned or not, but once again in this game, just 7 boards, and he didn't do anything else, so that's troubling. If there's better options on your wire, maybe it's time to drop Thompson, but we'll see with that. Tony Waters, he got the start in this one with Marcus Smart out of this game. 5 points, 2 boards, 5 assists. Smart stayed a day, but Tony Waters, he's not going to have fantasy value, but he got the start. Jalen Brown, a mediocre game for his standards in this one. 33 points, 19 points in 33 minutes. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 of 16 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3. So Jalen Brown, he's a pure scorer. He gives you all the intangibles, and like I always say, him and Tatum are the 2 guys that run the engine for this Celtic team, and they're going to be fantasy value players for years to come, and this team rides or dies with these 2 guys. Daniel Theus, he had a good game the night before, but this one, 2 points, 3 boards, and he's a player I said to drop. He's not doing much of anything. His stats roll over the place, and he only played 13 minutes in this one, so he has no value. Pritchard, good fill-in game off the bench with 32 minutes, 23 points, 8 assists, 2 rebounds, and he added 2 for 4 from the three-point line. So Pritchard, he's on the fringe here. If Kemba Walker, obviously, Jeff Teague, and Smart are going to be out a while, then he's going to have value. But right now, you just wait and see what happens with Pritchard's playing time and those other guys. And Greg Williams here, good game, 14 points, 6 boards, but still Teague, like I said, Kemba Walker still out, and Marcus Smart out of this game. So that's why Williams got run, and he had 23 minutes of play, so he's not on the radar. Robert Williams, on the other hand, is, and he was a recommended add at center this week. 11 points, 15 rebounds, and 19 minutes of play. And Williams, to be honest, he should be getting the most minutes at the center position over Theus and Thompson. And if as the games go on and the weeks, I think this guy, he's going to be good, man, is Williams. And he's going to help fantasy teams and rosters. So if he's out there in your fantasy league, I recommend him as a pickup. Now to the Toronto side of things, Siakam, he had a good ball game in this one. 22 points, 6 rebounds, 2 of 5, from three-point land. So Siakam, you drafted him in the 3rd, 4th round of most drafts, and he's living up to the hype. Just that one game where he walked off the court was a problem, I know, for Siakam, but I think he'll be fine in fantasy, and he'll get things going, in my opinion. OG Anunoby, right now, 10 points, 1 assist, and I told you to sell him high this week at the forward position, because I don't think he's having great games. This one, he didn't do much. 1 of 4 from the three-point line, 3 of 8 from the field, and he only had 10 points. I said the leaders on this roster are going to be Van Fleet, Siakam, and Lowry. Anunoby's the 4th or 5th option in this offense. So people, they were high on him coming into the season, but I think it's time to sell him off. Kyle Lowry, another decent game here. 18 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 5 of 13 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3. So Lowry, he's going to get his stats. He's going to play his game, and he's going to start 30, 35 minutes a game. Fred VanVleet, another monster game for him here. And this guy, he's just putting that ball up and hitting his three-pointers this season and living up to the contract so far. 35 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 13 for 20 from the field. So VanVleet, I didn't think he'd be this great this season, but he's definitely putting in work, and he's hitting his shots, and he's helping in a lot of categories right now for fantasy owners. Aaron Baines, he's not having value. No points, 4 boards, and I thought he'd be a sleeper, but right now, he's just not the man over there at center for this Toronto team. Chris Booker, on the other hand, another decent game. 20 minutes off the bench, 9 points, 6 boards, and an assist. And Booker, he's been playing well this season, and a lot of owners drafted him as a sleeper in their fantasy drafts, and so far, he's putting up those numbers. Terence Davis, pretty good game here, 13 points, 2 boards, 3 assists. But at this time, he don't have fantasy value. You need to see a little more out of him to trust him and play him. Nolan Powell, he didn't do much in this one. 4 points in 16 minutes. I'm just not going to start Powell here for Norwin. Would trust him, and I've seen him drop now in a handful of leagues, so keep him on the wire. And that was the Boston and Toronto box. The Miami Heat and the OKC Thunder the next game here. And the Heat with a blowout victory by 28 points, 118-90. And the Heat get back on track with the victory here, but we'll start off with the Thunder. Bazley, another good game here. 16 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. So Bazley, he's one of the main men over there in OKC, and 5 for 10 from the field, 3 for 5 from the 3-point line. They're going to start all the young kids. They're going to get major minutes, some of these guys. And in this game, Bazley and Dort playing 20-25 minutes. But this game being a blowout, obviously the starters were benched early, and on to Luke gets Dort. 12 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 2 for 4 from 3, 4 for 8 from the field. So Dort, there's going to be growing pains with him. But we saw what he could do in the playoffs last season versus the Houston Rockets. And this guy, he's got full of potential and better games ahead of him. So Dort, he's a good player, and he should be on most fantasy rosters, especially 12 teams or deeper leagues, because he's going to be good, I think, when the season's all said and done. George Hill, he was a recommended pickup off waivers on guard this week, but this week game, he didn't do anything versus the Miami Heat. And Hill, he's a streaky player, but in this one, 21 minutes of play, only 3 points and 2 assists. So hopefully in the next game, Hill bounces back. And Hill, he's not that crazy of a pickup, so if you have Hill on your roster and there's better guys out there on the wire, I would drop him, because you're going to get good games and then bad games like the one here in this game versus Miami. Gilgeous-Alexander, he had a good bounce-back performance. 18 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 7 of 15 from the field, and he added 2 threes. The only thing with Gilgeous-Alexander, he's been drafted high in a lot of fantasy leagues, 2nd or 3rd round, and so far he's not putting up that much crazy numbers to be living up to that draft status. But hopefully Alexander gets it going. He was a guy I didn't want to go in the top 30 this season on my rankings, and so far he hasn't done that. Al Horford, he had a down game in this one, only 21 minutes played though because of the blowout. 2 points, 5 boards, and Horford, I said he was a center to buy low this week. I don't think you got to give up much to get him, and plus the other thing, they're going to play him minutes. They're going to try to get his contract off the books here, is the Thunder. So Al Horford, he's going to get the opportunity. He's their center, and their backups really don't have impact as a big man. So I would buy him low, and some owners might even drop them. So Al Horford, I would target to try to get on my fantasy team. Roby, he didn't have a good game here. 24 minutes of play, 3 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists for Roby. 1 for 5 from the field and 1 for 3 from 3. Roby, I don't trust him yet as a fantasy guy, but we'll see what he could do in the upcoming weeks, because he's coming off the bench pretty much as the 6th man here for this Thunder team. But he's got to produce better games. Jackson in this one, he didn't do great. 18 minutes, 6 points, 7 boards. He's not on the radar. Diallo, another decent game. 9 points, 3 boards, but he's not on fantasy radars either. And these other guys, they're not going to play minutes or get playing time to put up stats here for the Thunder. Now to the Heat. Kelly Olynyk, he's a good ball player, and he's a streaky shooter as well. And in this one, 5 for 7 from 3, which led him to a 19-point, 8-rebound game in 27 minutes. Kelly Olynyk, he's available in about 70% of fantasy leagues. And I would get Olynyk if you need a stretch big man who's going to rebound and hit some threes for your fantasy team. And last season, he played a good role in the playoffs for this Heat team. And I think once again this year, he's going to be good for this Heat team and fantasy owners. Now Jimmy Butler in his 2nd game back, decent stat line, 18 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 of 12 from the field. So Jimmy Buckets working his way back in the lineup after that ankle injury cost him 3 or 4 games last week. But Butler, you know, he's a stud. He was top 20, 25 in the rankings coming into the year, and I still believe he's going to put up those type of numbers and try to lead this Heat team back to the promised land, into the finals. Tyler Hero, good stat line, just the scoring was low in this one. 29 minutes of play, 7 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, and only 1 3. Hero, he's a stud with all the playoff experience in his rookie year under his belt. This guy, he's going to blow up as the season goes on and be a huge fantasy factor and fantasy player for your team. So Hero, he's a guy I just got to ride with and see what he could do. And if an owner's frustrated after a down game like this, I would go out there and try to get him. Duncan Robinson, another streak shooter. And so far this season, he really hasn't got into it. Only one game he started off hot was that Christmas Day game. But besides that, he's been in a slump. But he's a streak shooter. And once he gets going, he could have some huge games. And in this one, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists for Robinson, and 4 for 10 from 3. He's going to pick it up, I believe, as the season goes on. And as this Heat team gets more chemistry once again this year. Bam Adebayo, another big game for him. He's a total fantasy stud, and this is why he went in the second round of fantasy drafts. 20 points, 8 boards for him, 4 assists, and 90% from the field. So, Bam, he does it all. He's a great center to have on your roster, and he can help your team in big ways. So, Bam, if you got him in your leagues, he's paying dividends right now. Goran Dragic, he didn't do much in this one. 22 minutes of play. 7 points, 7 assists in this one, 3 of 7 from the field. And Dragic, he's going to be up and down. He's a veteran. He's still worth, obviously, a roster spot in fantasy. And he's going to play 20, 25 minutes a game. And the rest of the guys, Avery Bradley, Iguodala, and Kendrick Nunn at this time, they just really don't have fantasy value. They're not playing major minutes. And they're not really helping much in any category. So that's that for the Heat and the Thunder box score. Now on to the Pacers and Pelicans, and what a ball game it was that came down to the wire. And the Pacers get another victory here to improve to 5-2 with the 118-116 victory over the Pelicans. And both these teams, they're pretty similar in my opinion here. So it was an evenly matched up game, and it went to overtime. And now to start with the Pacers, Sabonis, another huge game for him. 19 points, 11 boards, 7 assists. 9 to 16 from the field. Sabonis, he's a fantasy stud. He's a double-double machine, and he's definitely living up to his value or better where he got drafted in fantasy leagues. So Sabonis, nightly, he's putting up a double-double, and his passing's getting better. That he added 7 assists. Aaron Holiday, 19 minutes. He really don't have fantasy value. 3 points, 2 boards, an empty stat line. Malcolm Brogdon, this guy's a stud as well. 45 minutes of play, including the game-winning shot in overtime. 21 points, 7 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 for 9 from 3, 8 for 18 from the field. So Brogdon, I don't know why Milwaukee let him go. He's an underrated ball player, that's for sure. And last season he was on a tear also before he got injured for this Pacer team. And Brogdon, he's an absolute stud in my opinion for this team. Victor Oladipo, he's starting to get his rhythm back. And in this game, he had 2 big shots down the stretch to tie it up and force it to overtime. 25 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 for 11 from 3, and 8 for 17 from the field. So Oladipo, you want to see him start hitting more threes, and he did that in this game. And you want to see his scoring and assists go up. So Oladipo, I think he's not 100% recovered from that ACL. But right now, these are the type of games you want to see from him and stat lines. And this is why you drafted him in the 8th, 9th round of your fantasy leagues. And I think he's going to be fine. Miles Turner, 22 minutes, 17 points, and only 2 rebounds. 2 for 3 from 3, 7 for 11 from the field. And Miles Turner, he's a player I said to sell high this week. He came into the game 3.6 blocks a game with a steal and a half. I don't think those numbers are going to continue for Turner. I know he's playing the minutes. I know he's at center, but he's not doing much of anything great besides the shot blocking, which isn't going to sustain for him. So I would sell Turner high at this point in the season where his value's up there. Justin Holiday, a big game here, 9 points, 7 boards, 5 assists, 3 for 6 from 3, and 3 for 9 from the field. And Holiday, he got a good contract this offseason from this Pacer team to stay. And he's putting up numbers, and he's playing major minutes, obviously. So right now, he's a guy on the fringe of getting added in fantasy leagues. Because a guy playing 44 minutes, he's got to do something, right? And in this game, he did a little bit of everything. But you want to see the shots go up. Doug McDermott, he didn't do much again. He's a one-trick pony anyway. He's a scorer, and only threes he's going to help you win. But he only had 11 points, 3 rebounds, and an assist. So I think Justin Holiday is the guy who's going to benefit the most with TJ Warren out indefinitely with the stress fracture in his foot. And McConnell and Sampson, they don't have value. Now on to the Pelicans. Zion Williamson, another double for him, his fourth and seventh game. And the only thing with Williamson, is he going to stay healthy? Besides that, he's a freak, he's a beast, and he's a good player you drafted probably in your second or third round. And he finished the night with 24 points and 10 rebounds. Brandon Ingram, he's definitely Kevin Durant 2.0 in my opinion. Another big game for him here, 31 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists. The only troubling thing with this line here, it took him 31 shots to get 31 points, and that's not a good thing with the 12 for 31 from the field, under 40%. So Ingram, he's a scorer. His assists have definitely gone up this season, and you just want to see that field goal percentage and his threes made per game go up. But besides that, he's definitely a fantasy stud. Lonzo Ball, he played a good game in this one, 38 minutes of play, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 7 or 11 from the field, and he added 4 threes. Lonzo, he's in a contract year, so I expect Lonzo to have a good season here and try to cash in the offseason. He's putting up points, he's getting assists, and he's a pretty good fantasy player, and he's adjusted his shot as well. 4 for 6 from threes, very good from Lonzo. So over there in New Orleans, things are working out for him. Eric Bledsoe, pretty good line as well. 12 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Added a 3 and 4 for 9 from the field. So Bledsoe, he's a scorer. He hustles every play and plays hard. And you saw it this game with 11 rebounds from the guard position. And Bledsoe, he's a decent player to have on your fantasy roster. I don't think he's going to have huge scoring games anymore with Ingram and Williamson on his team, but he could be a third or fourth option here, and he's not a bad one at that. Steven Adams, 10 points, 8 boards. He's a center I said to go get on the trades this week and buy him because he's putting up consistent numbers and almost a double-double every night as well. And Steven Adams, he fits this team like a glove. A guy who don't need the ball in his hands, but he still could produce for the Pelicans and fantasy teams. J.J. Redick, I said to drop him early in the week. 32 minutes, but once again, an empty line, 3 points, and a rebound and assist. He has no value. And Josh Hart, he's on the fringe, 28 minutes, but he only had 3 points, but 10 rebounds and 3 assists. But these guards on New Orleans here, these guys definitely have a knack for getting the rebounds, and we saw it here tonight. And the rest of these guys, they don't have value on New Orleans here. The Bucks and the Detroit Pistons. Milwaukee with a 125-115 victory, and the Pistons fall to 1-6, and the Bucks improve to 4-3 here. Now into the box score for the Pistons. Jeremiah Grant, another big game for him, and he's rewarded fantasy owners. The only down thing in this one, 10 for 25 from the field, 24 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 for 10 from field. From 3 for Grant. So Grant, he's a good player. I didn't think he'd be this good scoring the basketball for this Piston team, but he's definitely showing his skills in extended minutes and more times with the ball in his hand and shooting attempts. But when Blake Griffin comes back full time, I think his numbers will take a little bit of a hit, but he's still definitely going to have fantasy value and help fantasy teams. Sajay Bey, he didn't do much in this one in 30 minutes. 9 points, 3 rebounds, 3 of 8 shooting, 1 for 6 from the field. He don't have fantasy value unless he really gets it going. But right now, I would keep him on the wire. Killian Hayes, a guy said to drop in week 2. He didn't do anything, and he got banged up at the end of this one. So Hayes, the time is not now for Hayes. This rookie's struggling in the NBA. Overseas, he was good, obviously, to be the 9th pick overall in the NBA draft. But he's just not doing it right now. And he shouldn't be on fantasy rosters. 7 points, an assist, 1 for 3 from 3, 3 for 7 from the field in 13 minutes. So he's not giving much. Wayne Ellington, he got a start in this one because of Josh Jackson being out in this game. And Ellington, he filled in with a good stat line here. 13 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, 5 for 7 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3. So Ellington, he's a 3-point shooting specialty for him, but he's not going to have fantasy value. He's a veteran unless there's major injuries and stuff. That's the only way I think he has value, but it was a good game for him tonight. Mason Plumlee, 19 minutes of play, 4 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 for 7 from the field. So Plumlee, I said to sell him high. I think he's going to be more inconsistent now as the games go on, and on the season it's only 8 points a game, but 10 rebounds and 4 assists, which are the good numbers for Plumlee. But I don't think he's going to have great stat stuff in ball games every game, and he's going to have bad ones like this one. And plus, with Griffin coming back, that's going to be more shot attempts not going to be taken here for Plumlee. Derrick Rose, another stud game for him. 24 points, 8 assists, 9 for 18 from the field, and 2 for 4 from 3. And Rose, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets inserted into the starting lineup in the next couple of games, especially now with Killian Hayes banged up, and we don't know if he's going to play in the Pistons next game. Now Vukovic, 13 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. He had some value last season in fantasy. He could hit the 3 ball as well, and he went 3 for 5 in this one. But right now, you got to see what happens with Jackson and Griffin. But I wouldn't jump to the wire yet and get Vukovic here for your fantasy team. Dumba Boya here, he had a good game. 13 points, 2 boards, and assist. And he hit 3 for 6 from 3. But he's another guy with the injuries. He got more playing time in this one. But I don't think he has fantasy value either. And Stewart, Darrell Wright, and Magruder and Okafor, they're not on the radar. Last week Wright was, but now his minutes have dropped a lot here. Only getting 9 minutes in this game. Now to the Buck side of things. And Giannis with a Greek freak type of performance. 43 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists here for the Greek freak. 17 of 24 from the field. He even added 2 for 6 from 3. And a decent free throw percentage, going 7 for 9 from the field. So Giannis, if he could get his 3-point and free throw shooting together, we're going to see more 40-point games from him. He's a freak for a reason. He puts up huge numbers. He was a top 2 or 3 pick this season because this guy's a stud. He's going to do it all. And if he takes the next level with his shooting from the line in 3, like I said, he's going to be number 1 undisputed pick each and every year for years to come. Chris Middleton, 19 points, 9 boards, 4 assists, and he's a nice number 2 over here in Milwaukee, and he gives fantasy owners a little bit of everything with Middleton, and he was drafted in the 4th or 5th round of most leagues, and that's the type of stats and numbers he's putting up, so he's doing good. True Holiday, we knew his scoring would go down this season, but he did add 6 rebounds, 7 assists to go with 15 points, 2 or 3 from 3, and 6 for 10 from the field. And the Bucks so far, they're not off to the start they wanted here with a 3-3 record, but they're still going to be one of the best teams in the East, and they just got to glue things together and get the chemistry going. And in this game, it all came together in this win versus struggling Piston team. Dante Divincenzo, 5 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists. So Divincenzo, it's not just his scoring and 3-point shooting. He's adding some rebounds. He's adding steals per game, and he's adding some assists. So Divincenzo, he's a solid player that I had as a sleeper coming into the year, and so far he's putting up some decent numbers. Brook Lopez, 30 minutes of play, 8 points, 7 rebounds, and an assist, 2 for 6 from 3. And Brook, he's a center I said to buy low this week. You don't have to break the bank at all to get him, and he could be a solid player to help you in rebounds, 10 to 12 points a game, and then a 3.5 to 2 a game, and that's solid production. Bobby Portis, he was a recommended add at the center and powered forward position this week, and another pretty good game for him in 22 minutes of play. 10 points, 8 boards, and an assist. 5 for 8 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3. But Bobby Portis, I think he's going to be good for this Buck team, and he's definitely worth an add with the usage he's getting off the bench. Breen Forbes, pretty decent game. 10 points, 2 rebounds, but right now he's just not on the radar for fantasy value, in my opinion. And DJ Augustine, a good game off the bench in 18 minutes, 11 points, 6 assists, and a rebound. And he went 3 for 3 from field, but Augustine as well, he's not on the fantasy radar right now. Now on to Dallas and Houston, and the Mavs with a good victory here over the Houston Rockets, 113-100, and Luka Doncic led the way with a triple-double here to lead his team to victory. So Doncic, we're going to get many triple-doubles, I believe, this season. Still, his field goal percentage is concerning, but he does everything, and he was a top 3 or 4 pick in most fantasy drafts. 33 points in 37 minutes, 16 rebounds, 11 assists here for Doncic, 3 for 10 from 3. So you want to see his shooting go up and his field goal percentage. But Luka, he's a stud. He does a little bit of everything. And like I said, he's going to get double-digit triple-doubles this season. Dante Finney, another start And another game where he didn't have impact. 9 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist. So he don't have fantasy value. Maxi Kleber did get the start in this one, but he didn't do anything as well. 9 rebounds though, which is good. 3 assists, but he didn't score the basketball. But Kleber, he's still a player and a big over there I want to own until Kristaps Porzingis comes back here for this ball club in Dallas. Josh Richardson, you know what you're going to get from him. He's just a pure scorer, and that's it. And he'll hit threes. So 15 points in 30 minutes, a rebound. Then he added 2 threes. Willie Cauley-Stein with the rare start in this one. And he had a good game, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 for 7 from the field, and surprisingly 5 for 6 from the line. So Willie Cauley-Stein, he's a guy to keep an eye on. But I got to see more production and more consistent games out of him before I have him as a fantasy player. And in this game, Tim Hardaway, he got relegated to the bench, but it worked in his favor. He had a huge game, 30 points in 31 minutes for Hardaway Jr., 7 rebounds and 2 assists, 11 of 14 from the field, and a whopping 8 for 10 from 3. So this was just a great game for Hardaway. He was feeling it, and he had his shooting stroke down, but he's not going to shoot 11 for 14 from the field, and no way he's going to shoot 80% from 3. But Hardaway, he's going to have nights like this where he just explodes and the rim looks like the ocean to him. But this game was definitely fluky with those percentages, but he's definitely a guy that be must-owned in all fantasy leagues. James Johnson, he don't have value. No points, 3 boards in 20 minutes. Jalen Brunson, he was a pickup recommendation after having a 31-point game the night before, but in this one, it was back to reality for him, 6 points and 4 assists, but he still did play 18 minutes of work. Dwight Powell, he has no value. He got bumped out of the starting lineup, 14 minutes, 2 points, 2 boards, and Trey Burke, no value as well. Now on to the Houston side of things. PJ Tucker, he was a forward I said to drop this week. And once again, he didn't do anything for fantasy owners. No points, 4 rebounds. And these are the type of lines he's going to have, Tucker. He's not going to do much of anything. He might be a decent rebounder and help you in the steal category. But that don't garner a roster position on fantasy rosters because he's not great at one thing. Nabwaba, 29 minutes of work, 5 points, 2 boards. He don't have value. James Harden, he came back after missing the last game. And he didn't have that great of a game for Harden standards. The 10 assists are obviously great, but only 21 points, and he went 5 for 17 from the field, 8 for 10 from the foul line, and 3 for 11 from 3. So it was an off game for Harden shooting the basketball. The trade rumblings, they've quieted down a little, but you know Harden probably still wants out of Houston here. And with this effort, that's not going to help. John Wall, he had a pretty decent game, still working his way back into game shape after missing just about 2 seasons. But 14 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, 4 or 10 from the field, then he added a 3. The thing with John Wall, I'm surprised he's played in pretty much every game this season, I believe. And he's not on a minutes restriction. So Wall, he's trying to prove why he's one of the better guards in all of basketball this year. And so far, he's been pretty decent. Christian Wood, another stud performance for Wood. And Wood, I thought he would be a bust with the change of scenery, but he's getting opportunity and he's getting a lot of shot attempts. 23 points, 7 rebounds, 8 of 15 from the field, 7 or 8 from the line. So Wood's a stud, and he's been putting in big performances. Eric Gordon, he was a recommended guard pickup, and he had another good game here. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists in 25 minutes of play. And he's going to be the 6th man, obviously, for Houston. He's going to help you in 3-pointers and free throw percentage. And in this game, 5 for 12 from the field, 6 for 6 from the line, and 4 for 10 from 3. So if you need scoring and 3-point shooting, Gordon's a guy you should go out there and get. Tate, he's not going to have value, but a decent game for the rookie, 8 points, 6 rebounds. And DeMarcus Cousins, he got thrown out of this one early, but he did have 4 points and 3 rebounds in 2 minutes, so it might have been a good game for Cousins. But once again, with his mouth and technical foul background, he got tossed early in this one. Now on to the last game of the night, the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings. And the Warriors, they put a beating on the Kings early and often in this one. And the Warriors now, they're starting to get it going over there. with a 137-106 victory. And Curry and the Warriors, they've taken things to heart and personal. But we'll start off with the Kings box score. Marvin Bagley, he didn't do anything in this one. 5 points, 9 boards, 2 of 9 shooting. And Bagley was a player I said to avoid in fantasy leagues. And he's been inconsistent so far this season. So if you want to get rid of him for whatever reason and trade him or package him with another guy, I wouldn't blame you, because he's frustrating to own and inconsistent. Harrison Barnes, another good performance for him. He's one of the main men over here for this ball club. 18 points, 9 boards, 7 of 8 from the line, 1 for 5 from 3, 5 for 12 shooting. And Barnes, he's getting usage, he's playing minutes, he's scoring the basketball, and he's getting rebounds to help your team. De'Aaron Fox, he was a player I said to go out there and get on the buy list this week at guard. 18 points in 30 minutes, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 7 of 17 from the field. Fox, he's also adding 2.8 steals a game, which is a good number. So Fox, he's a stud. I know his points per game have gone down a little, but I think he'll pick it up as the weeks go on as well. Buddy Hield, the same type of thing with him like Fox. 10 points, 6 boards and assists, and his struggles from the field continue. 3 for 12 and 3 for 11 from 3. But Buddy Hield, he's a 3-point shooter. His field goals got to improve, and I think he's a player I would try to buy low here. And if he does get traded in the mid-season, a change of scenery as well would help Hield, because he wants out of Sacramento. And right now, obviously, he's still there, but he's struggling. But he's definitely a buy low candidate. Raquan Holmes, he didn't have a great game here, and he's a player that's inconsistent. 4 points, 3 rebounds, where he had a great double-double the other night. So Holmes, it's going to be up and down with him, and he might be a guy frustrating to own. Corey Joseph, he's not on the radar, but he had a decent game. 22 minutes, 8 points, 5 boards, 4 assists. Glenn Robinson, 18 minutes, 8 points, 2 rebounds. He's not on the radar. Bowiqua, 15 minutes, 2 points, 3 boards, 2 assists. Hassan Whiteside, he got a playing time in this one, and he put up a decent stat line for 11 minutes of play. 8 points, 2 rebounds, but there's rumblings already. They're looking to trade Whiteside, and hopefully he lands to a team where he could get starting minutes and play, because Whiteside, he could help fantasy teams, and he definitely could help an NBA team, and the Kings, they're not playing him, so I don't know why they even signed him to start off in the offseason. I don't think they could get a first-round pick for him, but maybe a young player. And now Halliburton, he didn't play. He's got a bone bruise, but he's got fantasy value when he returns. Now to the Warriors, Draymond Green, another mediocre game. 21 minutes of play, 5 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. And Green, he's frustrating to own. His injuries have plagued him the last couple seasons, and right now he's not doing much for the Warriors or fantasy owners. Andrew Wiggins, he was a forward I said to go out there and buy low this week, and right now he's starting to get things going, and he had another decent stat line. 16 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists in 28 minutes of play, and he did add 2 threes. So Wiggins, he's starting to expand his game a little, adding a little bit of everything to his stat lines, and in this game, it was another decent one for him. So Wiggins, if the owner's frustrated or whatever, I would go out there and try to get him. Steph Curry, another big game for him. After 62 points the night before, he comes back with just about half of that with 30. 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 9 for 18 from the field, and he added 5 threes. So Steph, he was a top 5 pick for a reason. He's having a great season so far, and the only thing with him, hopefully he stays healthy, but he's going to be a monster, and he's been taking things personally, and he's been playing better the last few games than this Warrior team have. So Steph, he's out there to prove haters wrong this season. Kelly Oubre, he's starting to get things going now. The last couple games, 18 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, and he went 4 for 6 from 3 and 6 for 13 from the field. So Oubre, if he got dropped for whatever reason, the turnaround is starting now for him and this Warrior team, and he's a guy that should be rostered in all leagues and also a buy low candidate. James Wiseman, another decent game for the rookie. 10 points, 4 boards, and assist. He was a buy low candidate this week for me, and I would go out there and try to trade for him. Wiseman, he didn't have a great game here, but he's going to play minutes. He's a rookie still developing, and I think the second half of the season where you're going to really see him break out. Eric Paschall, last season he was pretty good for owners, but you got to see more playing time out of him, and things are starting to pick up for Paschall. 14 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, and he went 6 for 10 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3. So if Paschall's minutes go up and his production, he's definitely worth the guy to add. Damian Lee, he didn't do anything really in 19 minutes. No value yet in fantasy. 3 points, 6 boards, 3 assists. Wanamaker, he was a blowout, so the bench played more in this one. But the only guys I would look at as potential pickups eventually, hopefully, is Pasquale and maybe Kevin Looney, who had a decent game. 11 points, 3 boards, 2 assists. But right now, they're not on the radar. So that was the January 4th recap of the games, and I'll be back on the 5th with the recaps with 6 games coming up in the NBA and fantasy basketball.